Hi, this is Andrew. Thanks for joining me. This video covers the basic configuration of routers and switches. I'm not going to go into every piece of the basic configuration, just some of the high points. There are a few things that you may not have seen in the first semester of CCNA v6. And also, I'm only covering IPv4. IPv6 is greater emphasized in the newer version of the Network Academy courses. So in the future, some of these videos might have a lot more IPv6. I do have a short IPv6 video on the channel. If you need more than that, let me know. With that said, let's get started. What I'm going to do is create a basic network in Network Academy, in Packet Tracer. So I could be doing this with physical hardware. It's just a little bit harder to show on the screen. So that's why I'm doing it in Network Academy. I am going to do a couple of things that really kind of emphasize the simulation aspect of it. But just to start, I'm going to put two routers out here. And this is one of those things that you really haven't seen in the previous version of the first semester Network Academy course. And I'll explain why that's kind of a big deal. So I have two routers, and if you look at my address chart over here, two routers. I also want two switches, so I'm going to put a switch here and a switch here. And then I also want two PCs. I will put those here and here. And I'm actually going to rename these so we know what we're working with, R1. And this is going to be R2. It's very easy to kind of get things mixed up, especially when you're dealing with all of these IP addresses. So the more you can keep things consistent and go through these steps here, the easier it is to make sure you're doing the right thing in the right place. Now, one other piece. I'm not, like I said, I'm not doing all of the configurations. There might be times where I do hostname or don't. These are things that you should be able to do. So just make sure you're comfortable with all of that. For the most part, this is a lot of the material that you'll be dealing with in the first week, the first assignments for the second semester class. So make sure you can do all of this stuff. You will be doing it. So we have everything labeled. These are like stickers on the systems, but it'll help us keep track. So I'm going to put a straight through cable, fast Ethernet 0, and this goes up to the switch. And I don't think it matters which port. Yeah, I didn't define this. Frequently in physical labs in Network Academy, it will tell you which port to plug things into. In this case, I'm just going to go up there. So now, this is where it is a little bit more important. If you look at the addressing, gigabit 00 on both routers goes to the network. So I'm going to use port 24. That's not important. This one is very important. And here I'll go port 24. And again, very important that this goes to 00. And then 01 is the one that connects them. These are on the same network between the routers. 172.16.01, 172.16.02. That's the network that links these two routers. So 01 and 01. So I have my network built. If you note, everything is red because, everything connected to a router is red because the router ports are turned off. So first thing I'm going to do is actually configure this switch here. And I can do this a couple of ways. I can open this up and go directly to the command line. In a sense, that's cheating because that doesn't exist in the real world. If I really want to simulate it, what I can do is use a console cable. Go from the console port on the PC and go into the console port on the switch. And now I can open up the PC and go into desktop, terminal, and I can connect to my terminal. And there we go. I'm connected to this switch, and I'm going to enable and configure terminal, and then I can do host name, and this is going to be SW1. So when I say basic configuration, one of the things I want to be able to do is talk to it using some protocol. It's not this cable. and not the cheating. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to set up this one to be accessible over telnet. First step is I want to configure it with an IP address. Now, in the past, you would have done VLAN 1 and put an IP address on that. And we're not going to get into VLANs until next week. But in this case, we're going to do... let me get back to the spot in my notes. We're going to do VLAN 99. And now we created VLAN 99, we're going to put an IP address on it. Actually, I needed to go into interface VLAN 99. And now I can put an IP address on it. And this one is the switch, and that is in the table I set it as VLAN 1. I want to do 99. I want to stick with that idea. So now on switch 1, that is 192.168.0.10. So 192.168.0.10, 255.255.255.0. Okay, so I created that IP address on that interface, and now I can go back and I'm going to create a default gateway because I want to be able to leave the network. I want, if you look here, I want PCB to be able to get to switch 1 if we want to try doing that. So what I'm going to do, I'll put this right here, is 192.168.0, and that is going to be this interface on R1. That's the 00 interface, which will be 01. That's all set. And let's see. Make sure I'm not shut down on that. So I'm going to go back into the interface VLAN 99, no shutdown, and now I can take a look. And what's going to happen here is if I go to show VLAN, again, this is not something we'll cover till next week, but this is something that they might have you do in some of the assignments for this week. We have a VLAN 99, but all of the ports are on VLAN 1. So we're going to need to move those ports to VLAN 99. Again, I'll cover more of that. We'll cover more of that next week. So back into configuration, and I want to interface. I'm going to do an interface range F01 01 to 24, and I want them switch port access VLAN 99. So this is where I'm telling them they're going to be on VLAN 99. And if I do show VLAN brief, now I'm seeing that all of these are on VLAN 99. And it's going through, it just got the change to a different port. So while that's going through its process of negotiating, I'm going to go in and do my configuration on PCA. So if I go to IP configuration 192.168, this is 0, and we have it set at the .50. And it is a /24. And while I'm here, I will also set the default gateway. And that default gateway is, again, this interface right here on router 1. So I have IP information. If I go to my command prompt, I should be able to ping my switch. If I did everything properly, 192.168.0, did I make the IP address 10? Let's find out. When I scroll back and look at, yes, I did make it 10. So if I go back to, if I close that, and go back to my PC. There we go. I am getting replies from 10. So PCA is talking to switch 1. This is where, this is not intentional, but to emphasize the importance of keeping track of things and doing things in the right way. So now I can go back. I'm still on my terminal. I can't connect to it over IP yet because I haven't done any configuration, virtual terminal configuration. So I'm going to do go back to my terminal and do exit out of my range and do line VTY 015, and I will set a password of Cisco and allow login and end. So now, if I did everything right, I can go into telnet SSH client, and I want to do telnet to 192.168.0.10 and connect, and Cisco is my password. Now I'm connected into switch 1 and I can do enable, but I don't have an enable password, so that's one of those things I need to set in order to actually enable through the telnet client. It says SSH, it's actually telnet. So let's close that, go back to my terminal and do conft and do enable secret, and that's going to be Cisco as well. Now if I go back to my telnet SSH client, go at telnet 192.168.0.10 and connect, and Cisco and enable and Cisco, and now I am over the network, which means that I can unplug this and I can go up to my router now, but I can still access my switch over the network. It's through telnet, it's not secure, it's not SSH. We'll see if we have time to get to that. So for now, let's start working on R1. Once again, we're going to the terminal. We are in R1. Always do no on the configuration dialog. Enable configure terminal, and host name is R1. So critical things to do here. There's all the passwords and stuff. I want to get the interfaces configured. So I want interface G00, and that is going to be IP address 192.168.0.1 and then 255.255.255.0. And then let's do a no shutdown. And I could have done, there we go. I could have done descriptions. I could have done other things on the interface. That's all that I need to do right now. Oops, I didn't need to do end. So now I'm going to do the other interface. Interface G01. And I'm going to put IP address 172.16.0.1 255.255.255.0. This, even though this is I don't like the term, the class B address, I'm still using a class C subnet mask, /24 subnet mask. And this might be a situation where even a /30 subnet mask would work. So it's very, I actually typed it right the first time. There we go. Now, notice it didn't come up because I haven't done anything with R2 yet. So let's see if we can get do the configuration on R2. Let's go back, move our cable over to here, and we are back on, let's go back terminal, and this is on R2. So I want to do enable and conft and hostname R2. You can really notice when you're using the console cable how that hostname is so much more important, because up here we're saying it looks like it's PCA. We don't realize what we're connected to. So we're on R2. Once again, we're going to go interface G. I'm going to go kind of circular around to configure things. So this is actually not going to be configuring 00 first. I'm going to configure 01 first, because that is kind of the pattern. We went here, we did this interface, now we're going to do this interface. And that IP address, let's see if I can put this down here, is IP address 172.16.02. Very important not to do 01 there. And do a no shutdown. And there we go. Now we're lit up. We have green. So if I go here, I'm just going to exit because we still need to do, actually let's interface, let's do G01, and then I will show you that it's working. So G01 on, let's try here. There we go. That's going to be the best. G0, ooh, I made a mistake. It's a good thing I went back and verified. So G01 is that interface right here that we just did. And I just went back into that same interface and I would have overwritten my IP address. I really want to be on G00. And that is this network right here. So that is going to be IP address 10.0.0.1 and 255.255.255.0. And we're going to see something when we configure that PC when we put the IP address in. And it's an important thing to note in Packet Tracer that it's going. In this case, it will default to the wrong. It'll put a subnet mask in, and it'll default to the wrong subnet mask. So shut down, and now that is working on coming up. So now let's talk about the thing I was going to talk about. I'm on R2 right now. I should be able to ping R1. So I'm going to ping 172.16.01. From R2, that is pinging this interface G01 on R1. And there we go, success. The first one just times out while it's trying to find it, and now after that, once it's found it the first time, it's success 100%. So that's working. Now if I try to do something else, if I try to ping this network here, this is one of those things that you haven't seen before in CCNA V6 class, the first semester, where from R2, we're going to try to ping this network here, which is the 192.168.0.0 network. We're going to actually ping this interface, that 01. And if we ping 192.168.0.1, you see it times out and we can't get there. Now, success rate 0%. The reason is show IP route. In our routing table on R2, it has the directly connected networks. It has the 172 network and the 10 network. It does not have the 192.168 network listed at all. It doesn't know how to get there. And if it finds an address that's not in its routing table, it says, I'm going to drop this because I don't have anything to do with it. We're going to get into this a lot more towards the end of the semester in modules. I believe they're 14, 15, 16, if I'm correct. So we'll see this more coming up. But for now, what we're going to do is go back into configuration mode. We're going to add a route. We're going to tell R2 that if you want to get to the 192.168 network, do this. So IP route. and the IP address, the route is 192.168.00.255.255.255.255.0. And then we need to, so we told it what the network is, the 192.168.00/24. Now we need to tell it how to get there. A couple of ways we can do that, and it actually, if we do a question mark, we can say go to this IP address next. We can say exit on this interface, and we're going to just do the exit interface right now. It'll tell us something about it. Again, we'll get to it more later. So the exit interface is G01, because that's the interface that connects. So we're saying if you want to get to this network, leave on the 01 network. And this is the message I was telling you. If it's not a point-to-point interface, it may not perform well, but it is a point-to-point, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's go back and run that ping command again. Now, again, we're trying to ping this interface right here, this 00 interface on R1. And the first time it timed out, and then we have success. So if you just think about it, we really should do the same thing on the other side. So let's move this over to here, and we can close this and reopen it, reconnect to R1, and we're going to do exit there, and we're going to do an IP route. And in this case, we want to tell the router about this network. We're going to tell it about this 10 network. So if we were able to ping R2 to this interface on R1 right now, and it worked because R2 knows how to get to this network, and on the way back, R1 is directly connected to this network. So it's both networks. If we tried to do PCB to PCA, PCB would get to the router would say, I know how to get there, and it would send it down to here. PCA would send back the reply saying, this reply goes to 10.0.0.10. It reaches R1, and R1 doesn't know where the 10 network is. So we need that IP route saying 10.0.0.0, and then 255.255.255.0, and this is also exiting out the G01 interface. Same message. Now, if we go back to PCB and we configure the IP address, and in this case, remember what I said before about, let's see, we're using 50 for the PC, about the subnet mask. Watch what happens when I tab down. It fills in the subnet mask as 255.0.0.0. That's what it defaults to. So always make sure you're checking this subnet mask to ensure that the defaults that you're looking at is what you expect. Now, before I was putting in the default gateway, and I just said so you can get anywhere. What does that mean? We're on PCB right now. Default gateway says, if I'm trying to communicate with another network, where do I send this packet? Because if I'm communicating on my own network, I figure out what the MAC address is, I send it to the switch, and it goes to that MAC address. But when I'm trying to communicate with another network, I need to know what the default gateway is, what the door out is. And in this case, it is 10.0.0.1, which is this interface on R2. So we have that configured. If everything works and I configure stuff properly, I should be able to ping from PCB to PCA. Ping 192.168.0.50. And it can time out a couple of times as it finds the default gateway, and then it finds the route to get there. Once again, it's a big if as to whether I did everything correctly. And I got my reply. So you might look at it and say it only replied once out of 4 times, but now that it has cached all of the paths that it has to take, I can get its successful replies on 100% of the time. And if I go to PCA and try to do a comparable configuration or comparable ping 10.0.0.50, I can get there as well. So the only thing I have not done yet is configured this switch. So I can configure it now, but I actually want to, I'm going to go back to switch 1 just to avoid the repetition of doing a reconfiguration there. So from PCA, I will close my command prompt, open up my terminal, and one more thing that I want to do here. Enable and Cisco and so the one other piece that I want to do is I want to make this SSH instead of telnet. If you remember, telnet is not secure. It passes everything in plain text. SSH uses encryption. A few things we need to do to make that work. We already have a host name. That's one of the things. We also need an IP domain name. So IP domain name, and I'm going to call this andrew.com. And then I need to create a username that will be able to log in. So I'm going to do username, and we'll call it Andrew, and a secret password. Don't tell anyone. The password is Cisco. So now I have a password of Cisco. Now I need to generate RSA keys. So crypto key generate RSA module. It is slightly different from the version where I'd expect on hardware, and we're gonna general keys modulus, and we're gonna do 2048. Okay, keys are generated. Now I want to go to my back to line VTY 015, and I'm going to say transport input. Now if I do question marks, my options are all protocols, no protocols, which would be no remote administration, SSH, or telnet. So I'm gonna turn off telnet just so I can show you. I already showed you how we could connect with telnet. So now it's only going to be SSH and login local. Before we just did login, now we need to say, how are you going to log in? We're going to log in using a local account. So that is, I believe, enough to get where we want to go. So I'm going to go back to the client. First thing I will try is telnet 192.168.0.10 and connect. And it's not allowing me to connect. So what if I do SSH 192.168.0.10, and now I need to put in a username. I'll put in a username, Andrew, and password I created before, Cisco. Now I can do enable and Cisco, and I can get in, and I am now in with SSH right now. And if I wanted to, if I had configured SSH or on any of these devices, I could SSH from here. And these are all things you'll see in the packet tracers. So that covers most of what I think you should know at this point. This should mostly be review from last semester from the first Network Academy course. If any of this is completely brand new, let me know and we'll figure out what additional background information you need refresher on. But that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.